Before I was scheduled to have a heart stent put in, my in-laws said they were coming to help out. The day after they arrived, my mother-in-law canceled the $75,000 specialized medical team I had booked. Young people just don't know how to save money. My daughter might make a good living, but that doesn't mean you can just throw it all away. Her words left a bitter taste in my mouth, but I tried to explain patiently. My parents paid for it. It has nothing to do with your daughter. Before I could finish, she was pointing a finger in my face. Don't you dare use your parents as an excuse. In our family, the women handle the money. You marry my Chloe, you're one of us now. How dare you talk about yours and mine? Sitting around the house all day, and you hire a medical team that expensive just for a routine procedure? That's not how we do things. You think getting sick makes you special? It's just a stent. The vet back in our town could do it. My blood pressure spiked. I was rushed to the emergency room. After the surgery, my wife, Chloe, who had always been so gentle and caring, was like a different person. She not only blamed me for disrespecting her parents, but she also left our infant son with me, took time off work, and went on vacation with them. She called it a way for me to appreciate the challenges of being a parent by taking care of the baby on my own. I had a laugh, a cold, sharp sound. I immediately called a real estate agent. She wanted me to experience the challenges of parenthood. Fine, I was experiencing them. And that's why I decided it was time for this condo, a wedding gift from my parents, to go back to its rightful owners. Chloe had taken her dad out for the day, leaving her mother at home to watch the baby. The moment our son was asleep, she hurried over to find me. Can you look at this for me? She said, shoving her phone in my face. A wire transfer was supposed to come through today, but I haven't gotten a text alert. I'm getting antsy. I took her phone. Sometimes the alerts are delayed. I'll download her banking app for you. We can check the transaction history. That'll be the clearest. She nodded eagerly, leaning over my shoulder to watch. A few minutes later, I showed her the screen. Mom, here's the statement. No large deposits today. Are you sure they sent it? That's impossible, she snapped, grabbing the phone back. She frantically swiped at the screen, muttering to herself. I canceled it myself. Why hasn't it arrived? They said the refund will be processed the same day. It's almost dark out. I knew it. These agencies are just a scam. That's $75,000. Her panic seemed genuine. Hearing the word agency, a knot formed in my stomach. I thought she'd fallen for a sophisticated online scam, something that happened to older folks all the time. Even though there was no record of a large payment going out from her account, I was still worried. Mom, don't scare yourself. Try to remember, what money is this exactly? I asked gently. Who was supposed to send it to you? We need to figure out where it was coming from before we can do anything. I was about to suggest calling Chloe to come home, or maybe even calling the police. But then my mother-in-law's voice shot up, and she yelled at me. It's the money from that medical team you hired. I called and canceled it myself this morning. The person I spoke to guaranteed the refund would be in my account by the end of the day. It's almost night. Where is it? I knew hiring a few doctors couldn't cost that much. They were probably just scammers who took the money and ran. I stared at her in disbelief. Sure, I had misheard. You're saying you canceled my medical team. She acted as if she'd done nothing wrong, her voice dripping with self-righteousness. I did. Why would you spend so much on a simple stent procedure? I did it for your own good. The medical team wasn't just a few doctors. After I was diagnosed with a congenital coronary narrowing, my parents had pulled every string they had to connect me with a top-tier surgical team from a leading research hospital. They were pioneers of an advanced technique using a new, patented stent material that promoted healing. For that kind of technology, $75,000 was a bargain. If I tried to book it now, I'd be waiting over a year. My surgery was just around the corner, and she had canceled it without even asking me. A heavy pressure built in my chest. I took a deep breath. How could you do that without talking to me? My condition can't wait. Now that you've canceled the team, what am I supposed to do about my surgery? My mother-in-law scoffed as if I told a joke. What's the big deal? Stop making a mountain out of a molehill. So it's canceled. What of it? It's just a stent. I asked around. A standard stent, and the procedure only cost a couple $1,000s, maybe $10,000 or $20,000 total. Young people just don't know the value of a dollar. My daughter might make good money, but that doesn't give you the right to be so wasteful. $75,000 for a few people? Who do you think you are, a king? Her daughter's salary barely covered her own lavish spending habits in a city like Chicago. I fought to control the rage boiling inside me. Who said it was your daughter's money? My parents paid for it. She cut me off before I could finish. Don't you dare use your parents as an excuse. In our family, the wife handles the money. You married Chloe, your family. Everything you own should be managed by my daughter. How dare you draw a line between what's yours and mine? You sit around doing nothing all day and hire a medical team that's expensive just for show. That's not how we do things in our family. You think getting sick makes you special? It's just a stint. The vet back in our town could do it. Now get on the phone and figure out what's going on. If that $75,000 isn't in my account by tonight, you'll have me to deal with. Looking at her face, twisted with greed, it all clicked. She'd been after this money from the start. Saving money was just an excuse to get her hands on it. Before Chloe and I got married, she told me her parents were simple, honest farmers with no ulterior motives. The few times I'd gone with her to their small town, they had seemed just like that, quiet and unassuming. My own mother had looked down on her family, worried about the vast difference in our backgrounds. She warned me that people often put on an act to marry into money, and that their true colors eventually show. I didn't listen. I figured we were well off, and as long as they weren't too demanding, we could help them out. I never imagined my mother's words would come back to haunt me so quickly. Chloe had brought her parents here to help with my surgery, and this happened on their second day. Seeing her true intentions, I let out a sarcastic laugh. Even if you did cancel it, that money would never end up in your account. My mother-in-law froze, confused. I sneered. For large wire transfers like that, refunds always go back to the original source. The money came from my parents' account, so naturally it's going back to them. It has absolutely nothing to do with you. Her eyes went wide, and the muscles in her face twitched. Her expression shifted from shock to disbelief, then to the furious rage of someone who's been played. Her face turned beet red. Looking at her, all I felt was disgust. Arguing with someone so irrational was just a waste of energy. I was done with her. I reached for my phone to call Chloe, but my mother-in-law snatched it out of my hand. Then you call your mother right now and tell her to send that money back. I was stunned. Are you insane? That's my parents' money. Why on earth would I give it to you? Since that money was meant for you, it should be managed by our family. You married my daughter, so your parents' money is your money. Your money is my daughter's money. And that means it's our family's money. Her words sent a wave of absurdity and fury crashing over me. I stepped forward to grab my phone back. Seeing me move, she didn't just refuse. She jabbed her elbow sharply into my chest. My vision went black. I stumbled, grabbing the wall to keep from falling. A searing, crushing pain spread through my entire body. I clutched my chest, my face pale with agony. Just then, Chloe and her father walked through the door. What's going on? Chloe froze, then rushed to my side. He just got worked up. My mother-in-law stammered, tried to distance herself in the situation. I was in too much pain to form a sentence, managing only to grab Chloe's arm. Pills. Hospital. Chloe found my emergency nitroglycerin pills, then dialed 911. After hours in emergency surgery, I was finally stable. When they heard the operation was a success, her whole family breathed a sigh of relief. As soon as I was out of the ICU, I told Chloe everything about the medical team. If she hadn't shoved me, I could have used the calming medication the team had already given me. I wouldn't have had the attack, I said, my voice weak. Chloe, if you don't send your parents home, we're done. She seemed genuinely unaware of what her mother had done, but she still defended her. Mom is probably just old-fashioned and worried about the money. You just had surgery, don't get upset. Rest. I'll handle this and get you an explanation. I spent a few days in the hospital and hired a private nurse. As I expected, my mother-in-law never showed her face. As my discharge date approached, I reminded Chloe, "Are your parents gone yet? The last thing I want when I get home is to see people I don't want to see." She hesitated, an awkward smile on her face as she reached for my hand. "Honey, you're just starting to recover. Your health is the most important thing. Don't think about all this. Mom and Dad, they just came to see us and the baby. They won't stay long, I promise. As soon as you're better, I'll have them leave." I pulled my hand away. "See the baby? Chloe, have you forgotten why I ended up in the hospital ahead of schedule? Do you think what she did nearly getting me killed, wasn't memorable enough. I told you. Either they go or we get a divorce. I'm not kidding. Her smile vanished, replaced by a look of weary resignation. Okay, I know. I know you've been wronged. I'll deal with it. I promise I'll deal with it, all right? 2 days later, I walked in my home. My father-in-law was lounging on the sofa, legs crossed, drinking tea and reading the paper. My mother-in-law emerged from the kitchen with a plate of fruit. The moment she heard the door, a grotesquely exaggerated smile spread across her face. Well, the emperor is home. Come in, lie down. Don't want you bumping into anything. You're as fragile as a porcelain doll. I ignored her sarcasm and looked straight at Chloe. Why are they still here? My mother-in-law's face darkened. What do you mean, your house? This is my daughter's house. I can't be here. Some people think one little surgery means the world owes them something. This is my daughter's house, and I'll stay as long as I want. I slowly raised my head, ignoring the ranting woman and fixing my gaze on Chloe. Is this your explanation? Her expression shifted, her tone suddenly sharp and impatient. Ethan, are we ever going to be done with this? They're my parents. They sold their house back home to come here and take care of you. Where do you want them to go? The street. In that moment, my heart sank into a bottomless pit. What did she mean, they sold their house? She had told me they were just coming to help out and see their grandson. Not a single word about selling their home. So this was their plan all along, to move in permanently. A classic move, act first, report later. A perfect guilt trip. My father-in-law, who had been silent until now, finally spoke, his face grim. We're old. We sold our property and came all this way for you too, and for our grandson. For you to be so aggressive about kicking us out. What will people say? It's humiliating for our family. Oh, dear Lord in heaven! My mother-in-law suddenly shrieked, collapsing onto the floor and slapping her thighs as she began to wail. This is just unbelievable. My son-in-law is trying to kick his own mother-in-law out. I worked my fingers to the bone to raise my daughter, sold my retirement home to help them with their child. This city boy looks down on us country folk. How are we supposed to live? Her voice was astonishingly loud, echoing through the hallway. Sure enough, I heard the neighbor's door creak open, followed by the faint murmur of curious gossip. Chloe's face flushed with embarrassment. She yanked her mother up from the floor and half-dragged, half-carried her back into the room. Turning back to me, she softened her tone again. Ethan, I'm begging you, please. My parents haven't had it easy. They're getting older, they just want to be near their kids, to enjoy their family. Can't you just put up with it for a little while? Don't let the neighbors have something to gossip about. I'm really caught in the middle here. Her eyes were red, and she looked genuinely torn and miserable. You're still recovering, and we can't find a good nanny on such short notice. Your parents are overseas. Isn't it better to have my mom here to help out? I promise, as soon as you're fully recovered, I'll have them rent their own place. Okay, just for a little while, please. She was a master at this, switching between hard and soft tactics. I looked toward the bedroom, where my son was now crying, startled by the commotion. I decided to give her one last chance. Chloe, you have one day to find them a place. That night, I was woken by the baby's cries. He was burning up with a fever, and the house was empty, except for me and my son. I dialed Chloe's number. Where are you? The baby has a high fever. Get back here and help me get him to the hospital. There was a 2-second pause on the other end. I'm at the airport. What? My parents worked so hard for me their whole lives. Now that I've finally made a life for myself in the city, you want me to abandon them. Since you can't stand having them around, I took my family medical leave to take them on a trip for a few days. That way they won't be in your sight, bothering you. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I just had major surgery, and she took leave, abandoned our sick child, and went on vacation with her parents? Chloe, the baby has a fever. Did you hear me? Get back here now. I roared into the phone. Her voice turned cold. Ethan, you're the one who thought my mother couldn't take care of you properly. You're the one who thinks my family is a burden. So now you can try taking care of the baby by yourself. Get a real taste of how hard it is to be a parent. Maybe then you'll understand the sacrifices our elders make, and you won't be so heartless. We're about to board. Whatever it is, we can talk about it when I get back. The line went dead. I gripped the phone, my knuckles white. Feeling the heat radiating from my son's small body, I let out that same cold laugh. A fuzzy memory from the night before surfaced in my mind. A conversation I'd half heard in my sleep. You gave him a son. That makes you the hero. You have to keep a tight grip on a man's money. You have to know how to play these games. Don't be too nice, and he'll come crawling back. Men are all the same. Honey, you have to be firm this time. If you give in now, he'll walk all over you for the rest of your marriage. That's how it works. You either control him, or he controls you. Listen to your mother. You can't go wrong. When we get back from our trip, he'll have realized his mistake. Then you get him to put the condo in your name. After that, we can just sit back and let his parents take care of us for the rest of our lives. I had thought it was a bad dream, my anxieties manifesting at night. I never imagined it was real. Chloe, I must have been too easy on you all these years. You've forgotten who gave you everything you have. If I didn't do something, they would actually think they had me right where they wanted me. Fighting through the discomfort in my chest, I drove my son to the hospital. After his fever broke, I called my real estate agent. That condo in Lincoln Park. You said you had a buyer willing to pay a premium? I'll take the offer. My only condition is that we close as fast as possible. Chloe wanted me to experience the challenges of being a parent. I was experiencing them. So this condo, a gift from my parents, was about to be returned to its rightful owner. While I was still in the hospital, I had contacted several reputable nanny agencies, but they all told me they had no one available who met my needs. Leaving the ER, I held my son tightly. For the first time in my life, I felt completely alone. Chloe and her parents were counting on this, weren't they? They thought they could back me into a corner where I had no one to turn to, forcing me to give in. Too bad for them. They underestimated my resourcefulness. If I couldn't get a professional, I'd find a different kind of help. I pulled out my phone and posted a job listing on the campus job boards and student forums for several local universities. I was specific, looking for a female student with infant care experience, patience, and a flexible schedule. College students were generally responsible, idealistic, and at an age where they were full of compassion. It was the best solution I could come up with. Within half an hour, my phone was ringing. After a quick screening process, I arranged to meet one of the applicants who sounded the most composed and capable. Her name was Linda, a junior in the education program. Her resume said she had spent an entire summer taking care of her sister's newborn twins. When we met, her eyes were bright and she spoke clearly and logically. Seeing my son fussing uncomfortably in my arms, her voice naturally softened. "Sir, you look a little unsure how to hold him. Here, let me." She was the one. I hired her on the spot, and we agreed on her salary and duties. Mostly, I just needed an extra pair of hands with the baby and some light housework, so I could catch my breath. Just as I was about to take Linda back to my place to pack before we moved, the agent called. "Mr. Hayes, the buyer is making a cash offer. Can you come in to sign the papers today?" Yes. I wasn't surprised by the speed. The condo was located in a top-tier building within the city's best school district. It was prime real estate, the kind of property that agents dream of, a rare find that middle-class families fight over. As long as the owner was serious about selling, the process moved at lightning speed. I'd never considered selling before because it was convenient for my job and Chloe's commute, and it was a great place for our son to go to school one day. But now, I couldn't care less about her convenience. My son would get a great education with or without that condo. The closing was incredibly smooth. Linda, seeing I was still weak, did all the running around for me. All I had to do was sign my name and provide photo ID. The next day, I hired movers. With Linda and my son, I drove straight to my parents' house in Naperville, a quiet suburb where I'd grown up. We had just gotten settled when my phone rang. "Mom, Ethan, we've landed. We just got out of the airport. How are you? Are you recovering okay? Does the incision still hurt? Is your mother-in-law's cooking agreeing with you? If you don't like it, you have to tell me. I'll make you whatever you want when I get home." I could hear my dad in the background. "Let him rest. Don't ask so many questions. We'll be there as soon as we change." These were the people who truly cared about me. Every word was filled with concern and love. Even as a grown man, a lump formed in my throat. "6, Mom, Dad. I'm at the house in Naperville." "What's wrong, Ethan?" My mother immediately sensed something was off, her voice tightening with worry. "Why are you there? The house hasn't been properly cleaned in ages. Are you alone? Is Chloe not with you?" When you suddenly told us there was an issue with the medical team, I knew something wasn't right, but I didn't want to press you. You had just gotten out of surgery, and you sounded so weak. Your father and I were frantic, but then we got hit with a once-in-a-century blizzard. All the flights were canceled. We almost lost our minds with worry. I remember that call. My mom had gotten the refund notification and wanted to ask about it, only to learn I was already in surgery. At the time, I was exhausted and still clinging to a ridiculous shred of hope for Chloe. Not wanting my parents to worry, I vaguely told them the medical group was having some internal disputes and left it at that. They had planned to be back before my scheduled surgery, but the blizzard had delayed their return until today. I pushed the thoughts aside. Just come home first. Everything's fine. Drive safe. I'll be waiting for you. When I finished telling them everything that had happened, my mother was in tears, gripping my hand tightly. My boy, I almost lost you. My father's face was dark with fury. He slammed his hand on the arm of the sofa. Scoundrels. The whole family is nothing but a pack of scoundrels. I never liked them from the start. I knew they were no good, he raged. It's my fault. I thought as long as you two were happy, that's all that mattered. I never imagined they would live in my house, eat my food, and dare to treat my son like this. My mother pulled me into a hug, her voice choked with emotion. Divorce. You have to divorce her. Once their anger subsided, it was replaced by overwhelming concern. My parents were rarely in the country, so the house only had a weekly cleaning service, no live-in staff. Deciding that Linda, a student, wasn't enough, my parents immediately called in favors and hired a nutritionist and a full-time housekeeper. That night, sleeping in my childhood bed, with my mother and Linda taking turns with the baby, I finally had a full, restful night of sleep. This was the security that came from being in your own home. Soon, the nutritionist had designed a meal plan for me that was both scientific and delicious, tailored to my post-op needs. Linda was a natural with my son, and her calm competence eased my anxiety and exhaustion. With my parents' constant care, life became peaceful. My body slowly healed, and the warmth of my family began to mend the wounds in my heart. But peace never lasts. One night late, Chloe called. Judging by the time, their family vacation was over. So, she'd finally remembered she had a husband recovering from heart surgery and an 8-month-old son. I let the phone ring 5 times before I calmly answered. Ethan, are you not home? Where are you? We were worried about you, so we came back early. Why is no one here? The key isn't working. You need to come back and let us in. Her voice was edged with panic, and I could hear my mother-in-law banging on the door in the background. I bet he did this on purpose. He changed the locks, so we can't get in. Ethan Hayes, I know you're in there. Open this door. 7 worried about me? Please. It had been over 2 weeks since my son had a fever, and she hadn't sent a single text or made one phone call. Her social media, however, was filled with daily updates from her trip, complete with smiling family photos. Chloe, I said politely, I think you're mistaken. Your home is in a small town downstate. You must have the wrong address. What are you talking about? I sold a condo. I suggest you leave the premises. I hung up before she could respond, turned off my phone, and went to sleep. The next morning, as I was playing with my son in his room, I heard a loud argument erupt downstairs. I walked out onto the second-floor balcony and looked down. Sure enough, it was Chloe and her parents, blocked by the wrought iron gate at the edge of our property. They looked even worse than I could have imagined. Chloe had a dark bruise on her forehead and a split lip. One of her father's eyes was swollen shut, his glasses hanging crookedly on his face. But the real masterpiece was my mother-in-law. Her hair was a rat's nest. Her face was covered in scratches, and she was jumping up and down, pointing at my parents and screaming. The son you raised is a thief, a criminal. This is insane. He waited until we were on vacation and sold our house out from under us. My mother stood inside the gate, her face pale with anger. You watch your mouth. Say one more word against my son, and I'm calling the police to report you for slander. Go ahead. Call them, my father-in-law yelled, puffing out his chest as if he was on the moral high ground. Let the police decide. Let's see what they think of a son-in-law so vicious he sells the family home while his wife and in-laws are away. Is there no justice in this world? Chloe stood behind her parents, looking shocked to see my parents were back. She tried to intervene, but her parents were making too much of a scene for her to get a word in. I handed the baby to Linda, got dressed, and walked down to the gate. When they saw me, all three of them became even more agitated. "Ethan Hayes, you!" My mother-in-law started to scream. "Mom!" My words stunned everyone into silence. My mother-in-law, thinking I was talking to her, puffed up with arrogance. "So now you remember I'm your mother? Since you know you were wrong, I'll be the bigger person and forgive you. I'm sure your bad behavior was influenced by certain disrespectful elders. But you have to buy a new house, even bigger than the last one, and put in my daughter's name to apologize. Otherwise, our family will not." I gently held back my own mother, who looked ready to slap her, and spoke directly to my mother-in-law. Some people have skins so thick, they answer to mom no matter who's talking. "Were you a dog?" Her face turned a sickly green. You dare call me a dog? I am your wife's mother, the mother-in-law you are supposed to respect." I scoffed. "Respect? Did you give birth to me? Did you raise me? Why should I respect you? You want me to call you Mom? In your dreams. From the moment you canceled the medical team my parents paid for, from the moment you shoved me and nearly killed me, from the moment you all conspired to abandon me and our sick child to teach me a lesson, you lost the right to ever have me call you that." Without giving them a chance to react, I turned my gaze to a pale-faced Chloe. "And you, Chloe, that condo's deed had one name on it, Ethan Hayes. It was a prenuptial asset, bought and paid for in full by my parents. What does that have to do with your family? Do I need your permission to sell my own property?" My mother-in-law was sputtering. "You married my daughter. That condo was part of the dowry. The house, the money, it all belongs to us. Of course it has to do with us." I laughed coldly. "Oh, really? Didn't you spend last night at the police station? Is that what the officers told you?" My mother-in-law gritted her teeth and glared at me. The truth was, the police had called me that morning. I already knew Chloe's family had been beaten up. They hadn't believed I'd sold the condo and had tried to break in during the night. The new owner, a Taekwondo instructor, had mistaken them for burglars. The whole mess ended at the police station. When the officer called to inform me, I just said I was recovering from surgery and couldn't be bothered. Chloe finally looked up, her lips trembling. "Ethan, I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have left you and the baby. It was a moment of weakness. Weakness." I looked at her, the last flicker of emotion for her dying out. "You weren't weak. You were selfish, cowardly, and greedy. Your parents are the only family you've ever truly cared about. You never saw me as your family." I passed a file through the bars of the gate and held it out to her. "Sign it." When she saw the words divorce agreement, she stumbled backward, the color draining from her face. "No. Ethan, you can't. We can't get a divorce. Our son is so young. He's staying with me." Her voice trembled with a new kind of fear. "I know I was wrong. I really do. I'll do whatever you say from now on. I'll send my parents back home right now. Please, let's not get a divorce. I'm begging you." She clung to the gate, her fingers white from the pressure, her eyes pleading. It was too late. When she stood by and let her parents trample all over my dignity, time and time again. When she chose to hang up on my desperate call from the airport. When she thought she could teach me a lesson and make me submit. It was all broken beyond repair. "Chloe, let's make this a clean break. Otherwise, I have no problem taking this to your company's HR department. You wouldn't want to lose that job you worked so hard for, would you?" I knew Chloe wouldn't want to give up the financial benefits and comfortable lifestyle our marriage provided, but she was even more terrified of losing the stable, well-paying job she had fought tooth and nail to get. She knew better than anyone that if this blew up, if the scandal of abandoning her sick husband and infant child to go on vacation with her parents came out while she was up for a promotion, her career would be over. I didn't press her further. "I'll give you some time to think about it, but my patience is limited." I knew she wouldn't sign easily. She would drag it out, hoping for a miracle. But I had no intention of backing her into a corner. I know that people with nothing to lose can be dangerous. I had parents who loved me and a son I adored. I wasn't going to take any unnecessary risks. So, I didn't report her for misusing her FMLA leave. I just quietly began preparing the paperwork to file for divorce. But even when you don't look for trouble, sometimes trouble finds you. A few days later, Linda and I were heading to a nearby mall to buy some new clothes for my son. We had just left the gates of our subdivision when my mother-in-law jumped out from behind some bushes. "Ethan Hayes, You animal. You monster. How could you be so cruel? She shrieked. It wasn't enough to make us homeless. You had to ruin my daughter's career, too. She's been suspended because of you. Are you happy now? Did you go to her office and lie about her? You'll rot in hell for this. Her words caught me off guard, but then it all made sense. I watched her, a wild look in her eyes, and took a few steps back. You got it wrong, I said calmly. First, I don't have the time or the inclination for that kind of petty revenge. Second, your family used company-provided family medical leave to go on a vacation, plastering photos all over social media for the world to see. Did you really need me to tell on you? If you don't want people to know, don't do it in the first place. She wasn't listening. She lunged at me, her arms flailing. Who else could it be? It was you. You can't stand to see my daughter succeed. I'll kill you. Just as her hands were about to reach me, Chloe appeared and grabbed her in a fierce hug. She looked even more exhausted than the last time I'd seen her, her face a mask of desperation. She wrestled with her struggling mother, her voice hoarse. Mom, what are you doing? Stop it. Her mother thrashed in her arms, spitting as she screamed. Let me go. He cost you your job, and you're still protecting him? He threatened you with this when he asked for the divorce. It had to be him. It wasn't him. It has nothing to do with Ethan. Chloe suddenly yelled, her voice cracking. It was a colleague in my company, someone I'm competing with for a promotion. He's been looking for a reason to get me in trouble. It had nothing to do with Ethan. I'm begging you, please stop making a scene. Her words were like a kill switch. Her mother's struggles ceased. Chloe looked up at me, her eyes a complex mixture of guilt, shame, and maybe something else. Her mouth opened, but all that came out was a quiet, raspy, I'm sorry. My mom. Are you okay? I didn't answer. I just watched the pathetic scene unfold. Her mother, as if all the energy had been drained from her, stopped screaming and just mumbled, How could it be? A colleague. Finally, after one last, lingering look at our son, Chloe half-dragged, half-carried her mother away. Linda, holding the baby, clutched her chest. Wow, sir, that old woman is terrifying. I just shook my head, watching the two of them disappear down the street. I thought that would be the end of it, but my mother-in-law's capacity for destruction was far greater than I imagined. Unable to accept that her daughter's career was ruined, she went back to Chloe's office. She blew past the front desk and started a massive scene, screaming that the management had been deceived and had slandered her daughter. She threw herself on the floor, demanding they reinstate Chloe and pay for emotional distress. That spectacular performance sealed Chloe's fate. What had been an internal investigation and suspension became a major incident. The family's public disruption of the workplace had caused a huge scandal. The company's executives were furious and issued a termination notice immediately. I was finalizing my divorce petition when I heard the news. I couldn't help but feel a twinge of something, remembering how overjoyed Chloe had been when she first got that job offer. But whatever storms raged in her family's life, they had nothing to do with me anymore. You reap what you sow. This was nothing more than the inevitable consequence of their own actions. The day before I planned to file with the court, a signed copy of the divorce agreement arrived by courier. Chloe had voluntarily given up custody of our son. A month later, it was all finalized. The day we left the courthouse, the weather was beautiful. Chloe walked behind me, looking even more defeated than before. She called out my name, her voice dry. Ethan, can I still see our son? I stopped and turned to face her, my expression calm. I've already started the paperwork. I'm moving abroad with my parents to join the family business, and I'm taking him with me. I won't stop you from visiting. You can coordinate with my assistant, Linda. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. She just gave a weary nod. Later, I heard she struggled to find a new job she liked. Eventually, she took her parents and moved to a smaller city in the South with a lower cost of living to start over. All that came before is gone, like a dream at dawn. Our lives, which had once been intertwined, were now two parallel lines, never to cross again. We would each go our own way, to find our own happiness. Except, my happiness no longer included her. It was just me, my son, and the family that truly loved and supported me.